Once more and they began to run it on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, they ran through the briars and they ran through the brambles and they ran through the bushes where a rabbit couldn't go. They ran so fast that the hounds couldn't catch them on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. We fired our cannon till the barrel melted down. So we grabbed an alligator and we fought another round. We filled his head with cannonballs and powdered his behind. And when we touched the powder off, the gator lost his mind. We fired our guns and the British kept a-coming. There wasn't as many as there was a while ago. We fired once more and they began to run it on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, they ran through the briars and they ran through the brambles and they ran through the bushes where a rabbit couldn't go. They ran so fast that the hounds couldn't catch them on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.
Living on the road, my friend, was gonna keep you free and clean. And now you wear your skin like iron, and your breath is hard as kerosene. You weren't your mama's only boy, but her favorite one, it seemed. She began to cry when you said goodbye. Sank into your dream. Poncho was a bandit boy. His horse was fast as polished steel. He wore his gun outside his pants for all the honest world to feel. Well, Poncho met his match, you know, on the deserts down in Mexico. Nobody heard his dying word. Oh, but that's the way it goes. All the federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him slip away. Out of kindness, I suppose. Lefty, he can't sing the blues all night long like he used to. The dusty Poncho a bit down south ended up and left his mouth. The day they laid poor Poncho low, Lefty split for Ohio, where he got the bread to go. Nobody knows. All the federales say they could have had him any day. We only let him slip away. Out of kindness, I suppose.
Poncho fell and left his living in a cheap hotel. The desert's quiet, Cleveland's cold, and so the story ends, we're told. Poncho needs your prayers, it's true. save a few for Lefty too. He only did what he had to do. And now he's growing old.
A few great federalists said could have had him any day. We only let him go so long. Out of kindness, I suppose.
Once I loved you, darling, and you thrill me through and through. I must admit I wanted only you. Your kisses left me breathless when you said we'd never part. Your lips are sweet as honey, but there's poison in your heart. The way that you two-time me is a sin and it's a shame. You even said you'd like to change my name. You vowed that you'd be faithful, but you lied right from the start. Your lips are sweet as honey, but there's poison in your heart. Maybe I'll find that fate is kind and let me love again. Then I'll forget my fickle dreams of you. It's just too bad we've never had an even Steven start. Your lips are sweet as honey, but there's poison in your heart.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17, was 21, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for city girls who lived up the stair with all that perfumed hair. And it came undone when I was 21. When I was 35, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for blue-blooded girls of independent means. We'd ride in limousines, their chauffeurs would drive when I was 35. But now the days are short. I'm in the autumn of the year, and now I think of my life as vintage wine from fine old kegs, from the brim to the dregs. It poured sweet and clear. It was a very good year.
All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see that I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I won't lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry, and I know that I am no good without you. You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Why not take all of me? Can't you see that I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I won't lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes to cry, and I know that I am no good without you. You took part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Why not take all?
When my life on this earth is o'er, I'll fly away to that land on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away, I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away, fly away. When the shadows of this life are o'er, I'll fly away to that land on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away, I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away, like a bird from prison bars flown. I'll fly away to a land where no sorrow is known. I'll fly away, yes, I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away.
Thank you, boy. That was real fine.
Hurrah for the choice of the nation, our chieftain so brave and so true. We'll go for the Great Reformation, for Lincoln and liberty too. We'll go for the son of Kentucky, the hero of Hoosierdom through. The pride of the suckers so lucky, for Lincoln and liberty too. Come all you true friends of the nation, attend to humanity's call. Come aid in the slaves' liberation and roll on the Liberty Ball. And roll on the Liberty Ball Liberty Ball. Come aid in the slaves' liberation and roll on the Liberty Ball. We'll finish the Temple of Freedom and make it capacious within, that all who seek shelter may find it, whatever the hue of their skin. Whatever the hue of their skin, whatever the hue of their skin, that all who seek shelter may find it, whatever the hue of their skin. Success to the old-fashioned doctrine that men are created all free, and down with the power of the despot wherever his stronghold may be. Wherever his stronghold may be, wherever his stronghold may be, and down with the power of the despot wherever his stronghold may be.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal, and the straw boss said, well, to bless my soul, you load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning, it was drizzling rain. Fighting and trouble are my middle name. I was raised in the canebrake by an old mama lion. Can't no high-toned woman make me walk the line. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Sitting by the roadside on a summer's day, chatting with my messmates, passing time away. Lying in the shadow underneath the trees, goodness how delicious, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Goodness how delicious, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 delicious goober peas. when a horseman passes, the soldiers have a rule to cry out at their loudest, "Mister, here's your mule." But another pleasure that's enchantinger than these is wearing out your grinders, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Goodness, how delicious, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 delicious goober peas. Just before the battle, the general hears a row. He says, "The Yanks are coming." I can hear them now. He turns around in wonder, and what do you think he sees? The Georgia militia eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Goodness, how delicious, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 delicious goober peas. I think my song has lasted almost long enough. The subject's interesting, but rhymes are mighty rough. I wish this war was over, when free from rags and fleas, we'd kiss our wives and sweethearts and gobble goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Peas, 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 eating goober peas. Goodness, how delicious, eating goober peas. Peas, 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 delicious goober peas.
It's a mighty hard road that my poor hand has hold. My poor feet has traveled a hot, dusty road. Out of your dust bowl and westward we rolled, and your desert was hot and your mountains was cold. I worked in your orchards of peaches and prunes, slept on the ground in the light of your moon. On the edge of your city you've seen us, and then we come with the dust and we go with the wind. California and Arizona, I make all your crops, and it's north up to Oregon to gather your hops. Dig the beets from your ground, cut the grapes from your vine, to set on your table your light sparkling wine. Green pastures of plenty from dry desert ground, from that grand coulee dam where the water runs down. Ever stayed in this union us migrants have been. We work in this fight and we'll fight till we win. Well, it's always we ramble that river and I, all along your green valley I'll work till I die. My land I'll defend with my life if it be, 'cause my pastures of plenty must always be free.
I'm a traveling man and made a lot of stops all all over the world, and in every port I own the heart of at least one lovely girl. I've a pretty senorita waiting for me down in old Mexico. If you're ever in Alaska, stop and see my cute little Eskimo. Oh, my sweet Fraulein down in Berlin town makes my heart start to yearn. And my China doll down in old Hong Kong waits for my return. Pretty Polynesian baby over the sea, I remember the night when we walked in the sands of Waikiki, and I held you oh so tight. Oh, my sweet Fraulein down in Berlin town makes my heart start to yearn. And my China doll down in old Hong Kong waits for my return. Pretty Polynesian baby over the sea, I remember the night when we walked in the sands of Waikiki, and I held you oh so tight. Well, I'm a traveling man. Yes, I'm a traveling man. Yes, I'm a traveling man. Well, I'm a traveling man. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, or the times they are a-changing. Some writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. 'Cause the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, or he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing. Mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changing. It is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changin'.
There's a little tune we get an awful lot of requests for. I've been looking through the mail. A lot of folks want me to dedicate this one to this one and that one and the other one. I wrote this, but I didn't write it for no special somebody. I just wrote it to be writing something. The title of it is, If You'll Mind Your Business, and You Won't Be Minding Mine. If the wife and I are fussing, brother, that's all right. 'Cause me and that sweet woman's got a license to fight. Why don't you mind your own business? Mind your own business. 'Cause if you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. There's a woman on our party line's a nosy thing. She picks up her receiver when she knows it's my ring. Why don't she mind her own business? Mind your own business. 'Cause if you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. If I want to stay out till 2 or 3, now, brother, that's my headache. Don't you worry about me. You just mind your own business. Mind your own business. 'Cause if you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. If I get my head beat black and blue, now that's my wife and my stove wood too. Why don't you mind your own business? Mind your own business. 'Cause if you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. Minding other people's business seems to be high tone. It takes all of my time just to mind my own. Why don't you mind your own business? Mind your own business. 'Cause if you mind your business, you'll stay busy all the time. There's a little prophecy in song titled Mind Your Own Business. Friend, if you listen to this message here now, you'll be minding your own business because this is really good business. We'll be back with you in just a second.
Every morning at the mine you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder and narrow at the hip, and everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big John. Big John, Big John, Big Bad John, Big John. Nobody seemed to know where John called home. He just drifted into town and stayed all alone. Didn't say much, kind of quiet and shy, but if he spoke at all, he just said hi to Big John. Somebody said he came from New Orleans, where he got in a fight over a Cajun queen, and a crashing blow from a huge right hand sent a Louisiana fella to the promised land. Big John, Big John, Big John, Big Bad John, Big John. Then came the day at the bottom of the mine when the timber cracked and men started crying. Miners were praying and hearts beat fast. Everybody thought that they'd breathed their last except John. Through the dust and the smoke of this man-made hell walked a giant of a man that the miners knew well. Grabbed a sagging timber, gave out with a groan, and like a giant oak tree just stood there alone. Big John, Big John, Big John, Big Bad John, Big John. With all his strength, he gave a mighty shove. Then a miner yelled out, "There's a light up above!" And 20 men scrambled from a would-be grave. Now there's only one left down there to save, Big John. With jacks and timbers, they started back down. Then came that rumble way down on the ground. And the smoke and gas belched out of that mine. Everybody knew it was the end of the line for Big John. Big John, Big John, Big Bad John.
Yeah. Okay.
Big John.
Right.
Now they never reopened that worthless pit. They just placed a marble stand in front of it. These few words are written on that stand.
Hello.
At the bottom of this mine lies a big, big man. Big John.
Yeah, it needs
Big John.
Big John. No, this. Yep.
Big Bad John.
Thank you.
Big John.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're getting to where we want to maybe kick this thing off. Kind of file in if you want to. We do have food over here. Grab you some. This is casual today. Make sure you fill out a raffle ticket for some incredible chances at a gift later. Artifacts from room 132. And then there's a matting around a picture. We'd love for everybody to sign that we're going to fill in with a picture later that we take here at this retirement party for our guest of honor, John Powell. So just file in, grab you something to eat, get you a drink, and we'll get started here in just a couple minutes.
I'm such a happy individual the moment that you speak. I want to go and play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today. 'Cause you make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. Ooh, you make me feel so young.
Okay, guys, I think we're just about ready to get started. Wow, what an incredible turnout. Welcome, friends. It is so great to see so many familiar faces from many decades to join together in celebration of the incredible 45-year career of our guest of honor, Dr. John Powell. Like many of you, I've known John for a lot of my life, luckily over 40 years, and you all being here, as well as this live stream. Thank you to Luke Steelman. And then I just talked to John this morning, and he said he heard from a former student living in Bulgaria and one living in Saudi Arabia. And so truly, John is global. And this is the height, Coach. Like I said, many monikers. You got Coach, you got Doc, you got John, you got Boog, and most of all, you have friend of Dr. Powell. I want to first welcome a couple of special guests, without a doubt. First off, I want to recognize John's lovely wife of 48 years this August, Dana Powell. Now, we'll keep it nice today, being with John for 48 years and some of the things that some of us know. Way to go, Dana. And also, I want to welcome Eli Embry. Is also good to see Eli. And real quickly, as many things we do here at Heritage Hall that inevitably turn out great, while we love being here and being Chargers, I want to thank a few folks who helped make today possible. Lauren Roth, Tony Cannon, Keith Castle with the playlist. Good job, Keith. Stephen Gilmore, as always. Rick Stevenson and Paul Jackson. Lizzie and Kyle Gillum. As I already mentioned, Luke and Jamie Bramble all played a part in getting this thing to happen today, so thank you very much. Just to give you an idea of how we'll do things today, in just a few minutes, we're going to start things off with a few people who are going to share their thoughts and memories of John. Then we're going to have a drawing for some of the most priceless artifacts from room 132 that you can only hope to win. So I hope you filled out a raffle ticket back there, and yeah, you can see the stuff. You won't want to miss this chance. And then we're going to open it up for anybody who would like to share something you might want for your memories of Dr. Powell. And then to wrap things up, we're going to hear from our guest of honor, John, last. So, without further ado, I want to first introduce Heritage Hall President Aaron Fetro to officially kick off this great day. Mr. Fetro?
Coach Chard, thanks. Coach Powell, Dr. P. Welcome, everyone. He didn't think anybody was going to show up. I think they showed up. Thank you all for coming. It's great. It was great to walk around and watch folks connect who hadn't seen each other in a few years. All I wanted to do was welcome everybody here. We're going to honor a living legend. That's all I need to say. Welcome, and I'll turn it right back to Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Fetro. As I mentioned, we have connections from all over the planet, and we also have some people who are here today who have come a long way. A couple people that will share their thoughts. I'm going to start things today with a young woman who's come from Michigan. She's a professor at Michigan State. Amanda Flame, you are up.
Gosh. Hi, everybody. I started preparing this speech. I honestly think I could say I've started preparing this speech since I became a professor, because every time I'm a professor at Michigan State University, and every time I need to write an application to keep my job and apply for tenure and all the things that we do, I have to speak about the kind of teacher I want to be. And obviously, for anyone who is also a teacher in this space, we think about Dr. Powell and who we got to learn from. And so actually what this is going to be is quite messy, because there are just 9 million things I could say, and I wish we had June Holloway, my 5th grade teacher, here with her stopwatch, because she would make me stop speaking. So you're just going to have to be like, time's up, and then you get the vaudeville cane and like pull me off the stage. Perfect, exactly, it's perfect. Yeah, I mean, how do we start a speech about someone who's so just made such an incredible and immeasurable impact on our lives. And I suppose I'll say briefly that in my research, I work with indigenous communities in Thailand and Myanmar, and the first thing they do when they meet people is they recite their ancestors. And they can recite their ancestors 52 generations back, and they know their history, they tell their communal history through oral histories, but what matters to them is how they connect to each other through people. And so I guess also just so I know who I'm talking to, and so we get a sense of who's here and who we're representing, can I just see how many of us have been in the classroom as a student with Dr. Powell? Yeah. And how many of us are parents of children who are, yep, they're parents, so both. How many of us are colleagues and former colleagues of Dr. Powell? Yeah, and then how many of us are representing, we know many people who wish they could be here in person, right? Like so many people. It's just, you can't count the impact that you have on not just the people in this space, but our children, our students, our communities, the people that we connect with. And so it's just such an incredible honor to be able to share with you in real life what some of that impact is. I guess I also just want to add 2 brief caveats. One is that, so I give speeches all the time in my profession, and I just gave a speech to the American ambassador to Thailand. I'm not nervous. I am terrified to be in front of you all right now, partly because she might be 45, but she still wants an A, and also, because I'm a hideous crier, and it doesn't matter how many people are in the space, it happens. And in fact, the last time I was in the space, it was 1997 in May, almost 30 years ago, with many of you in the space, and I believe you said something extremely generous and kind, as you tend to do, and I burst into tears, and I gave you a hug, and then I remember just like this snotty mess that I left in my wake. So consider yourselves warned. We don't know where we're going, but here we go. I guess a few things, I have a longer letter of all the things that you want to say to somebody, but getting a chance to speak to you in front of just a community of people who love you and have been shaped by you, I suppose there are 2 main things I'd like to say. And I also say this as someone who teaches college students. And so, we often think about does it matter what we learn? Does it matter the facts of things that we learn or how we learn? And I think as professors, teachers, we're constantly trying to juggle something in between, right? But I really think learning in Dr. Powell's classroom, it's both. And of course, as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, you have no idea. You just had no idea how lucky I was, because you don't know what other people are learning or not learning or what those spaces are like. But I can tell you, as someone who's teaching excellent, driven college students, freshmen, sophomores, seniors, and some graduate students, they did not have a Dr. Powell. That the extraordinary community that you create in a classroom is something that is so tremendously rare and extraordinary that it doesn't just create the space where you can tell students hard stories that most students in the United States aren't learning, and in many parts of the United States are actually now increasingly forbidden from learning. That even doing that, taking that pedagogically serious, is treating 16, 17, 8-year-olds with incredible dignity and respect. Because you know that young people can handle hard truths, right? That young people becoming citizens who are gonna imagine themselves in the world and becoming civic actors, that we know our history so that we can take seriously the world we've inherited and imagine a new world that we wanna build. And it's not just about the facts that you convey and just this incredible wealth of knowledge. I could remember sitting in the classroom, we remember this eclectic, for those, I still haven't been back in the classroom in a while, but I imagine it's very much the same. You walk in and it's warm, and there's figures of history that Mr. Embry, may his memory be a blessing, he painted these incredible portraits of these figures of history, and we would ask you about it, and you might say something, is there Teddy Roosevelt? Was Teddy Roosevelt on the wall? Yes, and I remember very distinctly asking you about Teddy Roosevelt, and I remember it was an offhand it was like planting a seed, an offhand comment about the ambivalence of certain historical figures that you might take, that you're like, well, I appreciate this painting, and also we need to understand the range of impacts that he had, particularly I think you were mentioning on Native American communities. And it was just a sort of planted a seed, and it wasn't really until I went back, I went to graduate school, and then now I work in partnership with indigenous communities, and I work in partnership with Native Anishinaabe communities in Michigan, and I remember it's like it comes back, these moments come back to me, and I imagine to many people here, weeks, months, decades later, as being something that is both factually correct, but also incredibly important, that we can hold complicated truths, and that you can bring 16, 17, 18-year-olds and treat them with incredible dignity and respect by giving them complicated truths. Another moment was teaching, we were learning about the Vietnam War, and I remember very distinctly having all kinds of very well thought out ideas about how this history meant. And you took me seriously, and you were so generous and kind and encouraging me to keep thinking, and you mentioned the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, and I know you're like, what, this woman is really bringing me down. I'm a sociologist, like all I do is really depressing stuff, so I'm really sorry. But when I was living in China after college, I remember thinking I was going to backpack through Vietnam, and I thought I need to go to My Lai, and I need to go, see these places that you just casually could tell a story that was hard to hear, but helped me think about what kind of civic actor would I be, what kind of person do I want to be, and how can I inherit a kind of history of privilege in particular, and think about how to build bridges and connection and solidarities with truth. And it's kind of I think just so ahead of your time now, because now philosophically and pedagogically we talk about this as a pedagogy of radical reciprocity, of one where we come in and we get to learn from you, but you give us so much in return, so much more than I think you ever knew. And I suppose, just as a note to the administrators in this space, I hope that you can't replace Dr. Powell. Everybody knows that. And it's very weird to give a speech like this. It feels in an odd way like it's like a eulogy. We're just eulogizing you. You can't recreate it, but it is something that, as administrators and as parents here, please continue to protect these spaces, because they are so rare. A space where students, they're increasingly rare, I think, and potentially quite, politically under threat, that students can come into a space, learn complicated truths, but also you create the space where students, young people, can ask clumsy questions, give clumsy speeches, but we can ask clumsy questions and try out hard ideas, and you encourage people to listen to each other, and you take us seriously. And I noticed this, I don't know if I have any college students in this space and what your experience is, but teaching college right now is really tough for this reason, because students, you're developing your civic identities online, and after COVID, right, there's ways in which people can just come across with these quick dismissives. And really the world, if I think about what kind of civic world do we want to create, it's Dr. Powell's classroom. It's the space where we can actually listen to each other, where you do the whole reading, right? You do the whole reading, and it's complicated, and you have ambivalences, and you have to deal with the long story. But that when somebody gets to try an idea out, you encourage them to keep thinking through it, and you don't dismiss people. And so when I think about what kind of teacher do I want to be, I think about you. And I love you, and I appreciate you, and it is just like the biggest honor of a life that I could be a part of this for you and with you. So thank you. Oh. So now I get the very weird honor of introducing Mr. Castle, who was my 8th grade, one of my 8th grade teachers. I remember a flying stapler. We were merciless. He was amazing. That was part of the pedagogy. But also, it is very, like, I'm terrified to give speeches, not only in front of you, but also these, like, great educators of my life who shaped me and continue to shape me. We will always be your students, so thank you. Mr. Castle, I'm happy to pass this to you.
So, John, I'm going to give this to you now before I forget. So, make sure you don't. So, I'm sitting back there with my wife, and she goes, "I feel sorry for the guy that has to go after her." Yeah, so that'd be me. I'm impressed of no notes. I can't do that. So, John, I first heard of you back in the mid-'70s. So you're a graduate of 71. I was a graduate of 78, but I was a kid then. And back in the day when we didn't have all the phones and all that, you know, we read what we could read. And besides, once I finished reading encyclopedias, I would read the newspaper. And back when it was the Daily Oklahoman, and it was a different newspaper back then, as for you guys that are my age know that, they did a really good job of covering in-state colleges. And the first time I heard of John was when he played for Oklahoma City, the Chiefs. So, John, I've been a fan of yours since I was a little kid, and hearing about John Powell. So, fast forward to 1988, I was at another school on the other side of town, and I was an assistant basketball coach, and I was looking to be a head basketball coach. So, in February of 1988, a mutual friend of ours, Rick Roop, who was one of John's main basketball officials, and I worked with him over at that school, he said, "John Powell's retiring." And I'm like, yes, not knowing what chances I had. So in February, I applied for the job. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to get the call anytime from Rod Warner. Rod, are you here? Raise your hand, Rod. Okay. So it wasn't until June until Rod called me. So knowing what I know now, either he was really making sure I was the guy or he couldn't find anybody. But either way, they called me in June to take the job. And so for all these years that I've been publicly crediting Rod Warner for giving me my job here. John, it was actually you, because if you hadn't retired from basketball, I wouldn't have wound up here. And I can say I've had a charmed life. I really have. And so once again, thank you for retiring from basketball and changing the trajectory of my life, because you have, so thank you very much. So 3 things. We'll stay on basketball. So from the get-go, John, you were always really supportive of me. It can be a tricky thing when you come into a school as a new coach and the head coach is still there. And John was always very tolerating of me. I think probably to be safe, he and I, on-court demeanor might have been a little different, especially when I was younger. And I can just imagine what he was thinking, but he never offered me advice or was intrusive, which maybe he should have been. But thank you for that, John. But if as I get older and for some reason I go off the rails and decide to be a head basketball coach again, please interject. Please butt in, because I really need you to. Lunch, right back there, was one of my best memories of John and Marvin. It was before I was a division head and I was the dean of students. And we would eat lunch down there every day, and John and Marvin would hold court. Yesterday we go out to lunch, and I hadn't eaten lunch with John in years, and it took me right back to over there, because you just kind of hang on every word that John says. You never know what memories are going to come out. But our discussions revolved around sports, politics, and even some of my personal struggles, advice on raising one of my kids. Now, no, it wasn't Parker, and it wasn't Brady either, but it was Boomer, my Labrador puppy. So we were first-time dog owners, and we thought, let's get a puppy, that'll be easy. And as I grew up, my dog that we had in my family, by gosh, it was an outdoor dog, and this dog was going to be an outdoor dog. So he had to listen to all the exciting details of the battlefield I would come home to every day after school. holes in the yard, cable dug up and chewed up. I'd call Cox Cable. They'd come out and fix it. I would fill the holes back in. I'd come home, back and forth. It would just drove me crazy. The good thing was Cox Cable didn't charge to repair cable back then, so it wasn't costing me anything. But finally, you know, and I thought, the dog's not going to win this battle. No way. And Marvin and John, I'm sure, are just laughing all the time about what's he doing. So finally one day, and only the way John could say it, he said, Keither, you can either be in charge and have a mess, or Boomer can be in charge. Pretty good advice. So I decided to let the dog be in charge. We let him live in the house, and I swear to goodness, never again did he chew or dig or anything. So thank you, John, for that. You taught me a huge life lesson right there. You helped me clarify the family hierarchy. Mom first, and she's back there. Raise your hand, Mom. The mom's first, the dog second, and the boys third, and I'm fourth. So thank you for that. Tenacity. There's a tenacious side of John that many of you probably have not seen. Once again, when I moved to the upper school, as dean of students, I was assigned a single section of junior U.S. history to teach. And you know, when John was, I guess I had so many kids that someone had to teach that one section. Of course, nobody wanted me because they wanted John, but I got that. But I was assigned to share John's room for that one period. And as you know, and hopefully you'll go by there, there's a little bit of everything in John's room, if you remember that. So early in the semester, it was time to show some film, and that day we used the VCR, right? And now John just didn't have a VCR. I had a VCR that was a Panasonic that was probably very inexpensive back then. Well, John kind of had the Primo Deluxe version. He had a wood grain, right here actually, the wood grain Magnavox, which was cutting edge, I'm sure, when it came out. And he told me this, and I had a hard time believing it. I cannot imagine. He paid $2,000 for this back in the 80s, I think. And who knows what that would be today? So a prized possession, to say the least. So I only used it once because I broke it. And or at least that's what John told me. It was working when I left the room. But John told me I broke it. So that's fine. And to this day, when the opportunity presents itself, he never fails to remind me of that fact. Just so I suppose it could have been worse. He also had one of those first generation big screen TVs, the really big, huge boxes, you know. And I think he also had his prized possession of, there was a bust of Mr. Lincoln in there. I could have broken those like someone else did. So Betsy, do you know anything about that? No. Okay, all right, so it couldn't be a lot worse. Okay. So, seriously though, John, you are the man. You're a kid magnet, you're an adult magnet. You've always set a great example for everyone here, young and old. You're a man of character and integrity. And I can honestly say that my life is better for working with you. So I received an email from Marissa Hudson, Arnie, class of '92, Thursday night, just like others have. And I'd just like to share it with you today. She said, quote, "As I know you and the entire Heritage Hall community are aware, Dr. Powell is one of the best teachers Heritage Hall has ever had. He teaches his classes more like college seminars, which is why I loved his classes so much in high school. It is because of him and the way he pushed us and challenged us to think and write better that I was well prepared for my college career at Vanderbilt University. He was definitely the most impactful teacher I had at Heritage Hall, although there were many amazing ones as well. I'm happy for him that he is retiring, but Heritage Hall and the community will miss his patient and insightful teaching style." I'm pretty sure that sums it up, John. So I hope all of your new adventures are wonderful. Thank you for everything. Good luck. So at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce longtime Heritage Hall history teacher also, very well thought of, the professor, Dr. Chris Hamill.
Thank you. Mr. Castle. Long time. I've been here 15 years, and there are some of you in the audience who still don't trust me with the key. So anyways, I've been here a little while, and the highlight of my time here at Heritage Hall has been Dr. John Powell. Dr. John Powell, it won't be a shock to any of you, as a student of Abraham Lincoln. And I always thought for a long time that it was because Lincoln was so witty, he never met someone he didn't like, and after a while I began to think, who does this sound like? The other tall guy in the room, Dr. Powell. But anyways, the thing about Dr. Powell and Abraham Lincoln is the many conversations we've had about American history have been such a tremendous blessing to me, a tremendous joy to be able to share and swap books and history stories and wonderful insights into people like Abraham Lincoln. Dr. Powell's favorite book is Gary Will's Lincoln at Gettysburg, and when I was thinking about today, not something I've looked forward to, I looked at that book again, and it's a tremendous book. It's a book in which Lincoln talks about, the words necessary to heal a nation, to help us understand the sacrifice, to understand all the death and destruction. And in that sense, the Gettysburg Address is at the center of what Dr. Powell teaches us about Lincoln. But as I also began thinking about what I might say today, I also know that Lincoln's all about brevity. He's also about keeping it short. Don't get in your own way, Chris, is something he would say to me. The Gettysburg Address is 272 words long, it's about 2 minutes. Nobody remembers Edward Everett's 3-hour-long speech before the Gettysburg Address. They always remember the brief but insightful remarks of Abraham Lincoln. And frankly, that's how I think of Dr. Powell when, we have good chats about this, that, and the other, but it's always these momentary quips about kids and approaching kids and approaching the school and learning to remember that this is a place of great learning. It's a place of great sharing, and one of the most important things we should always try to do is to be kind to one another, to be relevant to one another, and that's Dr. Powell from a colleague standpoint. I stand in his shadow in those regards. I mean, Dr. Powell is an incredible colleague in that regard. We've been joking for a while now, when I first got here, that we would create a school within a school, that our conversations meant something to us, and certainly, meant a great deal to me. And I got to calling it Powell University. I'm a student at Powell University, and I wanted to know everything he read. I wanted to know what he looked at, and I was astounded. This is a guy who studied American studies. He knows a lot about philosophy. He knows a lot about history, a lot about literature, but he also knows a lot about quantum mechanics. He also knows a lot about psychology, the psychology of people, young people, old people, older people like myself. And the thing is he is our Renaissance man in a world where specialization and where we know one thing, we know that one thing well, and then there's Dr. Powell. And it's been very refreshing for an old-timer like me who had a career before he came here, to get to know Dr. Powell and to be reintroduced to the culture of teaching and communicating and sharing with students and my colleagues and the wonderful staff here. Dr. Powell shaped our culture, as did Mr. Castle and Coach Chard and others, so many others. And yeah, I've been here 15 years, but I'm a new hire. People who come here stay here, and there's a reason for that. And Dr. Powell has a lot to do with that. And I'm not saying anything that you don't already know about Dr. Powell. I appreciate Professor Flame's remarks about the culture of learning and what's going on in the world today, what's going on in America today in that regard. And we should not take it for granted, that we should remember these things. And Dr. Powell would be in the forefront of reminding us all what it's about. It's about the kids, and it's about making sure they get it. And it's not really about us. It's about putting them first. So I heard Mr. Castle talking about he is fourth. I think I'm fifth. My dog runs the house too. And my wife is second. Then all the kids and grandkids come after that. I might be more like 10th. But Dr. Powell, I just want to thank him so much for the example that he has been to all of us, the great mentor he's been to me and so many others. I think it's a great testament that of all his students that he's taught, many of them have become educators themselves, like Katie Trudgeon, Katie Davis, George McDowell, Ashley Heil, and there's a whole bunch of them there who are educators today. And I know I didn't mention everybody, and I apologize for that, but I can't think of a better legacy for a teacher. And I congratulate you very much. Yeah. I'm sorry that wasn't 272 words in 2 minutes. Anyways, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the next guest speaker, and that would be Coach Kyle Gillum, class of 2002, current football coach, strength training coach, husband to the wonderful Elizabeth Gillum, and the father of 4 wonderful children.
All right. Unlike the previous speakers, I'm not a professor, so don't get the pleasure of speaking in front of people all the time, so bear with me on this. All right. Abraham Lincoln once said on the subject of learning and study, it is a capacity and taste for reading, gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. It is the key or one of the keys to the already solved problems. And not only so, it gives us a relish and facility for successfully pursuing the unsolved ones. In Dr. Powell's 4 decades of teaching at Heritage Hall, this is what he has instilled on his students. I first saw a glimpse of this as a freshman in 1998. I saw this eclectic classroom that's already been mentioned a handful of times here, and I saw this giant of a man, Cooley sitting in his chair, in a lounge chair nonetheless. And in my experience as a new student, I'd never seen a teacher sit in a chair in such a way. And I saw that his students were hanging out in his room even after class was over, continuing their discussions of whatever had happened in class that day. So I tried to find a way to get into this classroom, so I joined a club as a freshman. I think it was a Lincoln Douglas Society. I wasn't really paying attention. I just really wanted to be in that classroom because he sponsored this so-called club. And so began my lifelong journey of learning with history. I took every class Dr. Powell taught and hung on to every word, lesson, book he talked about. He made learning and history cool. Here was this 7-foot former professional basketball player romanticizing about
Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and elements of the New Deal. He introduced us to music, playing music while we took tests, studied or read, which I still do to this day. His love of art opened my eyes to how truly appreciate and ingest art of all genres. And I'll never forget on September 11th, 2001, my senior year, we spent the whole day in his classroom talking about the historical references or the historical reference points that led us to that fateful day. Our relationship has only grown deeper since graduating from Heritage Hall, as he took a keen interest in my college football playing career, my learning journey, my coaching path here at Heritage Hall, my business endeavors, and most importantly, my family. Our third daughter was named in his honor, Goldie Powell Gillum, which is, she's running around amok somewhere back there. Churchill astutely once quipped, "Personally, I'm always ready to learn, although I do not always like being taught." Dr. Powell dedicated his life to learning, and he sparked that fire in most of us sitting here today, and many more that aren't. So on behalf of every student you had in class, thank you for allowing us to learn from you. Thank you, Dr. Powell. Congratulations on retirement. All right, I get to introduce the next speaker, which is Mr. Emmett Line from Boston, Massachusetts. He taught and coached here in the early 80s along Dr. Powell.
Wow. When I'm hearing these people speak, I'm going like, I hope I'm not too redundant to what everybody said. And the remarks have been beautiful. I've got some perspective to share, and I'm looking forward to hearing from others. So let me begin. My name's Emmett Line. I came to Oklahoma and Heritage Hall in the fall of 1981, fresh out of Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. Teaching and coaching at Heritage Hall was my first job out of college, my first job ever. I honestly, I have some students here. I don't think I was a great teacher. I was learning on the job. I was one chapter ahead of everybody. But I had a magic year. It is crazy how 1 year, one season in your life can have such a disproportionate impact on your life and your experience. And it can change you, and it can stay with you. And I had a golden time here in Oklahoma City. And at the center of that golden year for me was John Powell, Coach Powell, Dr. Powell. We always called him Boog, so I'm going to call you Boog. I met Boog on day one on the job in 1981. Dr. David Goodsell and Chris Arnold were welcoming. Oh my gosh, Laura. There's a great teacher. It's great to see you. I'll do my best. Oh my gosh, now the pressure's on. Thank God Flo May's not here. We've been friends ever since. The miles and the years have never eroded our friendship. There is so much to admire about Boog. You've heard a lot of it. I'll try and give you some new perspectives. And I know that the person who really doesn't want to be here today is sitting right there. But I think it's important that you are. I have a great friend and mentor back in Boston, a guy named John Grady, and he has an expression: gratitude left unexpressed is not gratitude at all. And I think what you're hearing today is a lot of gratitude for you. And I want to express my gratitude for you and for Dana in my life. And also gratitude to the Heritage Hall community for giving me my start. So I'm going to highlight 3 things about Boog. And nobody's gone over all the same territory, so I hope it resonates with each of you. And there are 3 qualities that I think make Boog great. The first is he is an amazing teacher. Boog is smart. He's truly smart. He's an author. He's been published. Amanda, this is something I think you were getting at. He's not afraid of ideas. and Kyle, hearing about September 11th, he loves history. He cherishes books. If you go to his house, his library is incredible. It's a gold mine. He loves Winston Churchill and Abraham Lincoln. He knows a ton about them. I think when you're retired, you're going to have a great time reading. My brother Kerry's a history teacher who's taught for almost 40 years now in California. And before he started teaching, he got this advice from our beloved high school teacher, a guy named Mike Sherman. He said, Kerry, if you're going into teaching, you have to love kids. And he said, the people that I see in this career who don't do well, they may love their subject, but they don't really like being around kids. And when you look at Boog and his career and what's said on the front of this podium, Boog loves kids, and that comes through. I think that makes him an amazing teacher. The second thing about Boog is he is a great athlete and coach. Sports are great. At a school like Heritage Hall, it's so important that you're exposed to academics, the arts. Dana and Boog have a great art collection. His love of art is real. Sports and athletics matter. And when you think about sports, it's hard not to think about Boog and his athletic prowess. It's so cool that he's got some of his OCU teammates here. Grizzly, I heard you were a great player. It's really, I got to see him play. When I was here, there was a YMCA AAU league, and they'd play at the OCU gym. And watching Boog play and his dominance on the court, he was, a lot of people can talk about being good at sports. Boog was the real deal. He was really good. And he was a tremendous coach. And when I was here, I'd love to go to the games. I can remember going like to tiny Crescent, Oklahoma, those packed high school gyms. He knew so much about basketball. He was a great coach. He remains a huge fan. Kyle, I will get emails about the Heritage Hall games during the year and the pride he takes in the teams and the basketball teams. And as a coach, I got to watch him play. Jeff Stewart, we were talking about you playing, 40 years ago. He still remembers. And those tree trunk legs. And he treated players with respect, and he was respected back. And I think so many of us are parents here, blessed to be parents, and Boog was the coach you want your kids to be coached by. And then the third thing I want to say about Boog is he is an awesome friend. Boog and Dana welcomed me into their lives, their home. In those days, we'd have card games, swim at their pool, pizza nights, barbecues, movies. You never forget that hospitality, especially when you're away from home. I'm from Boston, your first time away. It's one of the great things about the state of Oklahoma. I feel so lucky to be back here. There's a warmth of people here, the way you make people feel welcome, the parents and the kids that were here. When I was just 3-4 years older than our students, I'll never forget that hospitality. And I think that we have to say that Boog and Marvin Embry had a special friendship. And Keith, when you talked about lunch, it resonated with me. Marvin, Boog, and I would go to lunch almost every day, not at the cafeteria, but we'd go down to the Britain Cafe. And the chicken fried steak, macaroni and cheese, slice of coconut cream pie. And the conversation at lunch was great. And it was about kids. It was about games. It was about the littlest things. And we put on a lot of calories. I put on a lot of weight. I don't think I was a good enough teacher in the afternoon after some of those lunches. I was kind of stupefied with chicken fried steak, but my gosh, we had fun. And the days were just great. The conversations was great. And I feel that friendship endures through Eli and through Eli's relationship with Boog and Dana. And I think if any person in this room could choose a friend, they'd want to have a friend like Boog. They'd want to have a friendship like the friendship that Boog and Marvin Embry enjoyed. I love seeing it go through the years. And there are two guys from small towns in Oklahoma, Wayne and Payne. and but they've lived big lives and they have big, big footprints. And in some way, I feel a little bit like I'm standing in for Marvin today. And if Marvin were here, he would be so happy. He'd be roasting you. He'd be rolling his eyes. But what you and Marvin had was special. And Eli, I love you seeing it carried on. So Boog, here is to you. You're an amazing teacher. You're an amazing athlete and coach. And you're an amazing friend. I feel so lucky to have you in my life. And I thank you, and I thank this Heritage Hall and Oklahoma community for welcoming me and all the gifts you've given me. So here's to Coach John Powell. Phew, I'm glad. Katie Trudgeon, co-author with Boog Powell of a wonderful book, which I have a copy of, taught at Heritage Hall, class of '93. It's all yours, Katie. Here you go.
So I got asked about this a little bit last minute, so I'm going to wing it. Amanda, I'm also a crier, and so I'm going to do my best, especially because what I want to talk about JP is a little bit, everybody here knows a lot about John and his scholarship, his just deep wisdom, his brilliance in the classroom, and the way he, touches kids in a really profound way. But he has been, to me, the friendship that you were speaking of is something that I really want to touch on, because we've had 30 years of friendship. In fact, yesterday on my phone memories popped up a picture of John and I at my high school graduation party, which I still remember at the time feeling like was a really big deal because John doesn't go to parties. And I literally was like in awe when he showed up. And that day was super symbolic to me. I lost my father when I was a senior in high school, and then he showed up. Excuse me. Kind of just knew that I was going to need looking after. And he has been there ever since, unwavering in his love of me, in his tutelage of me. He not only saw that I was smart, for some reason believes I'm a good singer, but so he taught me to be a great student and to find confidence in myself. He taught me how to teach when I had no idea what I was doing. I got to teach with him for 14 amazing years, but mainly he's been a father to me. And I was just thinking, he doesn't have any biological children, but he has thousands of people like me who have flourished in his light. Sorry. He's a really big deal for me, and I'm a huge fan. I've been since I was, about the same height, actually. But you know what I mean. Many, many moons have I basked in our friendship, and I look forward to chicken fries at Wayne Cafe and pizza from Joe's, and I just will forever remember the moment when he took me under his wing and has had me there ever since. So I love you.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Coach Bogert, I see you back there, man. Can you help me and bring me that fish bowl full of raffle tickets? You were the closest. So we're going to kind of change up just for a second. As you can see, I told you at the beginning of the day we have a table full of priceless artifacts from room 132. Thank you, Coach. Wow, a lot of tickets in there. So you're waiting with bated breath, I'm sure. Most of these have a bit of a story. We'll start with this beautiful new seat cushion. As you can see, Rick might remember this, 84, 85 junior class fundraiser. Job, Rick. I'm sure this was your idea. This is, as you can see, been kicking around John's room for a long time. And the story is he and Marvin, nobody bought these.
nobody really bought these. So there was a big box of them down by Marvin's room, and every Friday before they go to the ball game, they just grab a new one. So they're up at Fairview, and imagine that it was really windy one night in Fairview, Oklahoma, and it came up, and Marvin's took off to the north yonder, and this is the one that made it. And this has been sitting in John's room ever since. And so I'm going to draw the winner for this real quick. My gosh, thank you for filling out the tickets. Okay, the winner of this is, no kidding, George McDowell. Now, yeah.
My dad actually gave these to Heritage Hall to sell.
Well, I guess that was about as appropriate as we can get. Now, we were going through the room the last couple of days, and we don't know where this originated from. Coach wasn't sure, but it might actually have some value as opposed to most of the stuff up here. This is presidential Pez. As you can see, these are 4 presidents. Some guy's missing. Not sure, but there's some Pez in there, and we were talking earlier today. I don't know about consuming those Pez because it's probably been in there a bit. Let me draw the winner of the presidential Pez. That would be Amanda Kirkpatrick. Amanda Kirkpatrick. Don't eat those. Now, I don't want an investigation into the legitimacy of this drawing, if you will, only on a couple. But I am going to draw for this. This beautiful text here that's fallen apart was the first one John used in his great craft of teaching American history. We've all had a lot of people in here anyway have had it, and that was their first edition that he used when he first came to Heritage. And I'm going to draw one real quick. The winner of that is Emmett Line. Thanks, brother.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, raise your hand if you've heard a cornball joke from Dr. Powell. Yeah. So he's got some great original comedic skill. He really does. But I saw this book the other day, and I said, I knew it, man. You didn't really think up all this stuff yourself. And he goes, well, I did. I would just add some homespun additions to this book of riddles. So I think he quietly used that in a lot of his career. So let's draw the winner of the origin of a lot of Coach's jokes. Oh, my God. This is legit. Carrie Chard. You got it, buddy. Now, if you had world history with Doc, we would always talk about the plague, right? And this was his illustration to how horrible the plague could get. He had another rat that he wouldn't even part with, but I said, well, Coach, can I at least have this one? It's really nice. So the plague rat that it's been sitting around forever, the winner of that is Robert Ring. Fellow colleague of Doc. There you go, Rob. Thank you. I got 3 more items. As you can see, the large thing at the end of the table will be last. This has got some original John notes in it, highlighted by John Powell. It's a modern European book that he used a lot of his years. If you've got outlined by him, that's the book you want as a student, right? The winner of this piece of literature would be William Cook, class of 05. There you go. Congratulations. Now, Coach, you're going to need to review me real quick on what is this? Don Quixote. Okay. Kids are always, they see the shield and everything, but this has been a fixture in the room as long as I can remember. So the winner of the way that he taught Don Quixote when he talked about it would be Ryan Weaver. All right. Here you go. Congratulations. This last thing, and again, I'm going to draw this. As Keith mentioned, this VCR, this dinosaur up here. We're going to give this away. I'm not sure what you will do with it, but John has about 150 tapes in his room if you are the lucky winner of this. And again, no investigation on the legitimacy of this prize, but the winner of this is Keith Castle. You going to lug this home right now, Keith? So, congratulations if you're a lucky winner of one of these artifacts today. Now, Mr. Jamie, where are you at? How would you? We're not quite finished. We got to hear from the big man yet today, but we do want to get somehow. I'm going to leave it to the artist here. A picture that is going to. I don't know if you want to be up here, Jamie. What are you thinking, Lauren? Yes. In the middle, kind of, yeah. It's how cool is it to go to a retirement party and you're like, well, here's a guest of honor. Not hard to find, right? So, Coach, we're going to ask you to cruise back there. We're going to get a quick pic, and then we're going to finish this thing up. You mean I gotta get up? Yes, sir. Yep. Glad we put these. Okay. So Jamie's going to come up here, and we'll get a quick pic. And be sure, on that note, there is that matting that's on that table back there. If you'd be sure to sign that before you go, and then we're going to get this picture that we're going to take here in just a second and put that in that frame for Doc to have at his place. So Jamie is going to come up here in just a second and stand there and take the pic, and then we'll get this thing towards the end. You want to get your refill on your Arnold Palmer or whatever? Okay, and there's, Lauren has it right there. Beautiful. Okay. So we're listening to you, Jamie. What do you want us to do?
We should probably be up here. Just get everybody kind of to fill in.
Yeah. So I guess this will take a little bit of, like during a faculty meeting, we're going to get up and you have a partner. So we're going to get up, kind of push towards the middle here. And John's going to step up, and we'll get a quick pic, and you can go right back, and we'll hear from the big guy. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of wedge towards the middle, and then Jamie can be able to have everybody in the picture. Okay, thanks, guys. I know it was a little awkward, but we do want to have a memory of that. Thank you, Jamie, so much. Get the coach back up here. I can't tell you, we were like, I was talking to Tony today, and I was like, it was about 12:02, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are people going? I was nervous. Are people going to come? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And then by 12:10, here we go, and we had to get extra seats. What a great problem, right? So thank you again so much for everybody who came today. I was thinking about just some quick words for Coach. I will say, when I came back to Heritage Hall in 2015 to work, the biggest gift was obviously that my children got to go here, and I had a job. But me personally, my biggest gift was getting to a renaissance with my kinship and love of Dr. Powell. He's as close as there is to anybody in my life. With my dad gone, he filled that role as well, like you said, Katie. So these are not going to be things that surprise you. I came up with sort of a top 10, but these are 10 things I learned from John Powell, and I bet that a lot of you will agree with these, that he's imparted to you as well. Number 1, read. Read every day. Read widely, read deeply. I didn't want to embrace this as a teenager, but I knew it was right, and although never like John, I finally have learned the value of this great advice. Number 2, as a teacher, which there are a lot out here today listening, you never know when or why or how what you do in class may make a positive impact on a student. It may be the day of the lesson, and it might happen when that person is 35 years old. And one thing John always said, don't always get too high about every single lesson. It's not going to be perfect. If you have not your best day, don't worry about it. You get to come back tomorrow. And great perspective there. Number 3, now some of these are fun. Play zone defense, especially when the other team is inbounding the ball on your end of the court. You're going to give up a layup otherwise. So we learned, we did, right, Paul, Rick? Played a little zone out, Lance, coming out of timeouts and out of bounds. Show up to work early. John is usually here before 7, and he has been for the last 45 years, and I appreciate that advice as well. Number 5, in teaching or any professional endeavor, always have a realistic plan for success, and back to teaching, and also a contingency plan. If that great lesson that you have, this is going to be the best lesson, and this has happened to me as a young teacher, you look up and you're like, there's 35 minutes left in class, boy. What are you going to do? And so contingency plans are always good no matter what, especially when you're teaching. Number 6, don't take yourself too seriously. Be able to laugh at yourself. I know we've heard that a lot in our lives, but no one has ever been more comfortable in their own skin than John. He's at ease whether he's reading Kierkegaard, Shakespeare, or watching a rerun of Leave It to Beaver, and unapologetic doing either one. Number 7, if you are a 2-man staff, make sure you have a great assistant like Mac Mitchell to drive the team van so you can drive your own car, thereby avoiding the unique sights and sounds from said van during a 2-hour ride back from Pawnee, Oklahoma. And you never had, that's a smart move, Coach. He always played the 6'11" thing. I can't really get in the van. I'm like, okay. Number 8, remember as an educator or a coach or any job where you work with the other humans, you can compliment someone 100 times. But if you put them down or make them feel badly once, often that is what they will remember. And I've learned that as best I can from you, Coach. Number 9, choose wisely and carefully when it comes to your spouse. And you did a great job, Coach. And the last one, don't be afraid to see the good side of everyone you encounter. Remember that everyone has something good to offer, and enjoy this great ride. Thank you, Coach.
Is Mr. Fetro still here? Okay, well, I wanted to say to him, we had a good turnout. I was a little worried, but I just wanted to see if he could reimburse me for the money I had to lay out for this thing to get you guys here. You know, I always approach speaking. No one would accuse me of being a great public speaker, but I always comfort myself when I'm in this position. At least I'm not Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover in 1931, midst of the Depression that he really didn't have much to do with. And he wanted to get out before the people and kind of sell himself, win them back. So he got the very bright idea to go to Charleston, South Carolina. And his aides said, were they going to commemorate, bring together a Confederate War Memorial? And they said, I don't think you want to do that, Mr. President. You're a Republican, and Southerners don't think much of Republicans down there. It's still solid Democrat. He said, no, I need to do this, and they conceded. The local officials weren't particularly thrilled to have Mr. Hoover, but he went anyway, and they decided he's the president. We're going to give him a 21-gun salute, and they did, and they fired it as he entered up to the outdoor stage. And one old Confederate in his gray dress uniform turned around and pointed to the National Guard and said, I think you missed him. You might want to try again. Getting old, it's not easy. Even my students picked up on this lately. For instance, early in the year, I asked a student to know the first 10 presidents and their terms of office. So it was his time to show what he'd learned. He didn't get very far. So I told him, you know what? When I was your age, I knew all the presidents, frontwards and backwards. He said, yeah, but when you were my age, there weren't but 3 of them. Most of you guys know I come from a small town, and there's a little bit of a cultural gap between myself and a lot of my students. But we've bridged it over the years. I remember one time they were talking about how they learned to swim. And one student said, well, I had private lessons at the country club and stayed with me all these years. The other one said, well, I learned to swim at Heritage. I had a private coach there too. They said, how about you, Dr. Powell? I said, well, a little different from me. When I was 4 years old, my folks just threw me in the pond. And they said, well, that had to be hard. And I said, no, getting out of the tow sack was the hard part. That cultural gap extended even in college. I had a speech class, and I was mortified because I didn't have anything like that at Wayne. So we had to go around the room. The professor said, I want you to state your most exciting moment growing up. Finally came to me, and I said, well, it's when my bathroom caught on fire. And she said, oh my, that is exciting. Did it burn the rest of the house? I said, no, ma'am, it didn't get anywhere near the house. So, I wanted to first repeat what's already been said, but I need to say it. Thank you to everyone, the wonderful staff across the way in the ad building who had a hand in this. Steve in particular, I know that, and Kyle, you guys have put, Elizabeth, you've put so much into this, and it would be remiss of me not to thank you publicly for that. Like a few just shout outs very quickly. I'm going to start here because they surprised me. I didn't know they'd be here. Here's my greatest teammate, Greg Krause, better known as the Grizzly. That name is stuck through the years, and I'm proud of that, by the way. Mr. Tom Spencer, my fraternity brother at OCU and dear friend. Mark Kelly, well, also an OCU grad, and even though Mark was in an opposing fraternity, we've always been great friends, and we've managed to get along. And his lovely wife, Gayla. I never understood, Mark, what Gayla saw in you. So, but it worked. They've been married how long now? 45. So, wonderful. It means a lot that you were. Didn't expect it, but I'm very happy. I'd like to see how I use this modern lingo, shout out. You know, I didn't know what that meant a few years ago. But I'd like, if my beautiful wife, companion of 48 years now, Dana, where are you? Right in front. See, I'm giving you all these reasons why I have to step away. So, Dana was a K through 12 Cassidy girl. We met at Oklahoma City University. I went to Europe to play basketball for a couple of years, and I announced to her, I think I really want to give this teaching thing a try, and she's been incredibly supportive, even though I think she understood that probably weren't going to continue the family's country club and all of that. But she's had to listen to years, 45 years to be exact, of my talking about Heritage Hall, my students, basketball games, football games, Brett, to be sure, and she's endured all that. And she's also been a real companion in helping me develop intellectually. Dana was always at the top of her class at Cassidy, won all the awards at Oklahoma City University. And I'm not going to say I was at the bottom of my class, but I wasn't at the top like Dana. And her love of art, her majors in Spanish and French, literature, that was tremendously influential. And I give you a lot of credit for this. You're a big part of that. I want to, when Dana and I moved down to our farmhouse in Wayne, the idea was that my godson Eli, that I was supposed to take care of him, and my nephew Jordan Powell, who had an emergency today with one of his properties that he just couldn't be here. I was supposed to take care of you guys. Marvin told me that. My late brother Zach told me to take care of Jordan. Well, it's role reversal. These guys take care of me. If I need anything, they're there for me. And wanted to get that across. I also want to, whether she was here today or not, she was on the agenda. I told Betsy, Laura Schaffner. Laura, I just want to say, I'm so happy I can say this in a public forum, that you were the mentor for me. She saw something in this kind of oversized 26-year-old teacher that I don't know why she saw it, but she did. And Laura gave me such sound advice. Everything, Steve, you were speaking to, Laura told me that. She'd always start our conversations. She'd never say, yeah, this is really bad what you're doing. She would always say, you might want to think about that. And she gave me the soundest advice I was ever given regarding teaching, and that was, you have to teach who you are, she told us. Don't pretend. Learn, grow, listen to others, but ultimately you have to be yourself. And I don't know where, Laura, I would be if I hadn't had such a great mentor. Thank you. I want to say to Kyle and Elizabeth Gillum that an example of how friendships can extend beyond just the classroom, and they've allowed me to be part of their family. I've held two of their beautiful young daughters. I've held them since they were babies in my classroom. Kyle, Liz would bring them by. Their youngest daughter happened to be born right about the time of the COVID. But I want to say to you both, when you named Goldie Powell Gillum, it's a singular greatest honor I've had as a teacher. So thank you. Very meaningful to me. I keep using that word, but I don't know a better one, that my dear friend Emmett Line would come all the way from Boston to be here. I have to say, in all my years of teaching, I've never known anyone who had as great an impact on young people as you did in a single year, and on the adults as well, although I'm not sure I was quite an adult at that point. But it's amazing, and he can name every single student he taught that year here at Heritage. And you're a dear friend, but you were a great educator. I understand that the law called you, but had you remained a teacher, your effect would have been tremendous. It's tremendous enough as it was. So I wanted to say that to Emmett. Also, I want to say the other influence on me, Laura ranks at the top, but I've also had such good people. A lot of things people don't understand about Heritage is, yes, we've grown. The physical plant has changed so much. It's a beautiful place now, I think. But we have to remind ourselves that when I first came here in 1979, wow, well, there's some great educators. Laura, Dr. Bobby Rowe, eventually my dear friend Betsy Horn, who's now head of the lower school, as you know, Lynn Roller, Florence Mae Robinson. These were educators of the first class. Their likes are not likely to come down the road much in the future. We have wonderful staff here now. If I could, I would like for you to have those people to be able to grow and be a better teacher from just being around them. I want to say to Amanda and Katie, I so much appreciate you guys coming up here. I look at those two as an example, and a point I'm really proud of is I've always thought we had great balance in our classroom here. Males do not dominate, females usually don't dominate, but sometimes they do. There's a balance here, and they're great examples of what they've achieved. And I'm proud of that. I don't think I'd want to teach at an all-boys school, nor do I think I would want to teach at an all-female school. I like the balance. I like the give and take. And of course, I thank you for the kind words you said today. Hard to express how much I appreciate that. I would not leave out my dear friend Marvin Embry. Marvin passed, Eli, some 3 years ago now. And his very presence here is just part of it. And I think what Marvin would say to me is, okay, enough, you need to sit down. But he's another great influence. Some of the most successful classes, in my view, I taught here were art history, largely through Dana and Marvin. I reached a level where I was totally comfortable teaching those classes. And I hope, and I think the young people, we gain from that together. I want to thank all of my former students who are here. For you to be here means the world. It's sort of unique to see, for lack of a better term, people from the old days, from the 80s, and a fair number of students that I've taught just recently. And I'll have one more session. We give a final on Tuesday. But so meaningful for all of you to be here. Don't know how you put a price tag on that. I'd also like to thank my former students, and Steve kind of touched on this, that for giving me the opportunity to teach your children. It's getting to the point if I stayed around another year or two, I'd be teaching Ellen their grandchildren. They're that close. But I do appreciate that because you put trust in me to carry through and do what you want us to do, to teach them something. And I hope I haven't failed you in that regard, but I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity. Very special. I want to say, too, to my basketball players, would everybody stand up that played for me? What a good-looking group of guys, right? I want to say to you guys, thank you. You worked hard. Thanks for putting up with me. I'm sure there were some moments they thought, you call that guy coach? But they always accepted it. And I know, Brock, you and I have talked about this before. Our number one goal was to work hard, be as good a people as we could possibly be, present ourselves to the public in a way that we could all be proud. You more than accomplished that. But along the way, too, is let's have some fun, right? Let's hit the country snack bars whenever we get a chance. And let's come home, win or lose, with a smile on our face. And these guys won plenty of games. And Paul said he forgives me for running off and leaving him in the bathroom when we went up to a tournament at Pawnee. Egregious mistake to leave your star player behind. Chris, I do not recommend you doing that. But he says, okay, we're good. So thank you guys so much. one more word back to Dana. I got interested in private schools, I think, through her, because she would talk about Cassidy and so forth. And I remember one time she was talking about the dress code at Cassidy, and she asked me, she said, "Did you guys have a dress code at Wayne?" I said, "Well, the only dress code I can think of is you got sprayed by a skunk, you had to go home and change your clothes." So I leave you because I know you've had just about enough of John C. Powell on this day, but three things, and this flows back, Laura, to you. If I've had any success in teaching, it stems from this. Laura's commented, teach who you are, relax, know your stuff, it'll work out. And I hope I've lived up to that. I know one example is I had a young man who was desperately in need of getting a paper in, but it was a Friday afternoon late. He didn't have it. I said, bring it to my house, a little cottage in Nichols Hills. You'll see the mailbox, leave it in there. And when he came, I happened to be at home. My room that I used as my study the window was right there by the mailbox. So he walked up with a friend. I heard him put the paper in, and I was playing Abraham Lincoln's campaign song. And he stepped down. I heard him say to his friend, "This guy really is a cornball." And that stayed with me. That's a true story, by the way. So I hope I've been able to, I guess it's just a way to say I hope who I have been and what we did was good enough. And you know what? The fact that you're here, it's a validation. It gives me some confidence that we didn't waste their time, a little bit of our time, but Steve also touched on this. I've always stressed that words matter. When you deal with young people, if I were saying this to young teachers, this is probably number one. I would stress to them, words matter, and in our personal relationships, they matter. So guard what you say. A compliment will go a long way, but it might fade after a while. But the negative comment, I'm not talking about criticizing papers, we'd all be in trouble if that's what I was referring to. Referring to a deep, critical comment that wounds and festers. If you can avoid that, you'll have some success in teaching. And finally, I would say, be patient. Patience is a quality that Dana says I don't have much of, but I've tried to use that word in my teaching. Not just patience to put up with the occasional knucklehead in class. That's always going to be there. But by the patience that I view as long-term, after several years of teaching, I realized how I perceived someone when I had them in class, too easy sometimes to dismiss them as not serious, they don't care. Funny thing, they turned out to be some of the most successful people, some of our best citizens, people that you just want to be around. So don't judge too quickly, be patient. Those three things that I think have worked for me, hope they have. And I close by saying this, it said you can't get rich teaching. I don't think that's quite true. If you're talking about monetary, material wealth, that's true. But richness to me is in the quality of the relationships we build, the love we have for our students and for each other as colleagues. And I feel like I'm a rich man, and my wealth lies before me right now. And I had a student ask me just a couple of years ago, we were wrapping up the year, and he asked me how long I'd been there, and I said, at that time, 44 years. And he said, Dr. Powell, if you go back in time, would you want to do something different profession? And my response, still my response, is no. If I could do it all over again, I'd do it exactly the same. No regrets. This has been a great ride, and I thank you all for everything. And blessings to everyone that's here. Thank you. My last word is, Dana refuses to allow me to bring this back to life. So I'm willing to make a deal. Anybody that's interested, just let me know. And moreover, I'll throw in about 100, at least 100 VCR tapes.
Guys, there's plenty of food if you want to sit around. We're gonna make Dr. Powell hang around for a little bit if you want to visit. Food, sign the deal for the picture. Thank you so much for coming.
Land on God's celestial shore. Highway, fly away, fly away. Highway, fly away, oh glory. Highway, fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. Highway, fly away, fly away. When the shadows of this life are o'er, fly away, fly away to that land on God's celestial shore. Fly away, fly away, fly away. Fly away, oh glory. Fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. Fly away, fly away, fly away. Like a bird from prison bars flown. Fly away, fly away, fly away. To a land where no sorrow is known. Fly away, fly away, fly away. Yes, fly away, oh glory. Fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. Fly away, fly away.
Thank you, boys. That was real fine.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17. When I was 21, was a very good year. It was a very good year for city girls who lived up the stair with all that perfumed hair. And it came undone when I was 21. When I was 35, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for blue-blooded girls of independent means. We'd ride in limousines, their chauffeurs would drive when I was 35. But now the days are short. I'm in the autumn of the year, and now I think of my life as vintage wine from fine old kegs. From the brim to the dregs, it poured sweet and clear. It was a very good year.
Big John, Big John. Every morning at the mine you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder and narrow at the hip, and everybody knew you didn't